Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Promoted channel. Today, I want to talk about something that I also think is impacting just about everyone at the moment in one way, shape, or another, and it's overall job market health and strategy and how to approach it. Because whether or not you're even happy and in a good place within your job, the market is definitely in an interesting spot, and you might need to be prepared in either direction. So I hope this video can help anybody and everybody, whether you are actively in the job market for your own reasons or may get put into a situation where you need some of these strategies. And so I myself was recently in the job market voluntarily to where I was looking for a new opportunity. And I definitely had some different strategies and got to test out some different things and, really get updated on some potential changes and something where it's not a typical part of my advice, but I definitely am going to advise people to do now. I want to talk about what that looks like as well. So I want to give you my story, my impact, and just overall kind of a comprehensive approach about how to go about job searching in this current market and some just general strategic tips here. So first and foremost, let's start with the foundation of everything, which is your resume. And as someone who has written hundreds or thousands of resumes by hand at this point, I have got to say, I think AI resume writing is the way to go. I've definitely been experimenting and doing this with some clients hand in hand over the last couple years for great success. But, I still felt like there's a level of human touch and intuition and that there might be some advantages there. And I definitely still think like having a little bit of human oversight is the way to go, but having 90+% be written by AI is absolutely the way to go. So to give you my story, my journey here. So I have developed an AI toolkit, which I will link in the description below. Shameless plug here a little bit. But I've developed that linked in below. And essentially what I did is when I first went into the job market, I took the first 6 weeks. I would send out about, let's say, 15 to 20 applications a day for those 6 weeks. I mean, we're talking a significant number of applications here. And I did my handwritten resume. I updated it for my latest information, my latest accomplishments, my latest goals, and these sorts of things. And then put it out there. And over the course of these applications, I had about a 2% response rate. Keep in mind, again, I do this as a side hustle, as a living. I've had friends, colleagues, both above, lateral, below, varying industries come to me to help them write their resumes, all for great success historically. And to have a 2% response rate was just atrocious. If I recall, it's been a long time since I've looked at this statistic, but I think you really should be aiming for around a 4 to 6% response rate. So again, for every 10 applications you do, you should have about 4 to 6 responses. That's how you know that you're getting, that would be a 40 to 60% response rate. Completely incorrect. Out of 100 applications, you should have a response of about 4 to 6 of them. And this is the case historically that I think is given, generally considered to be a pretty decent response rate. So to have a 2%, I was shocked. So after those 6 weeks, I took the next 6 weeks to say, okay, now we're going to use the toolkit that I've built and also help develop with clients over the last couple of years since ChatGPT's release. So keep in mind that I did and do recommend using ChatGPT. There might be other AI models that are best, but I was able to do this with ChatGPT. And that's the one that I'm most familiar with when it comes to the overall prompt engineering and training and those sorts of things. So that's where my toolkit's built for, and that's what I used. Over the next 6 weeks, doing the same thing, those 15 to 20 applications a day. So again, we're talking a pretty significant amount of applications. I jumped up to a 12% response rate, 6x, and anywhere from 2 to 3x what is considered to be a good response rate. And especially in this job market, wow, that everyone I've told that metric to has just been amazed that that's the way to go, or that was the result. And the reason I think that having that 5 to 10% of human oversight is the way to go is because I did have to make a couple small tweaks. There was a couple times where it gave information incorrect, like it misunderstood what I provided it, so I had to correct it a little bit. As well as there were just a couple industry terms that I wanted to throw in and things like that. But overall, I mean, that means for every 10 applications, I'm now getting one response, where before, at a 4 to 6%, it's taking you 25 applications to get to that one response. Or in my case, it was 50 in the original scenario of 2%. So to go to 1 in 10 or over 1 in 10 was pretty impressive and pretty telling to me that, honestly, us as human resume writers, like, I'm not going to sit here and tout like I'm the best, but again, I have a really good track record. And so the difference between me and that 1% human resume writer, I mean, even if they're twice as good as me, 3 times as good as me, 4 times as good as me, they're still not going to be as good as AI. To be 6 times better in flat out results, that just speaks candidly to me. And so I am even gearing my clients towards using AI writing, doing their resume writing now, unless it's something that they just don't have the time and they really genuinely want me to do it, or it's just included in a package that we are doing. My first response at this point for all of my clients is, don't have me write your resume. Buy my toolkit. It's $40 instead of the $400 that it's going to be to have a human write your resume, and call it a day. It's just that simple, I think. So that to me was the first part of the strategy that was just eye-opening. And this also kind of leads into the strategy that I don't typically advise, but I think is necessary for the market that we're in. And so some of you might have been kind of shocked to hear that 15 to 20 applications a day is what I was doing. And if I were to sit here and tell you that I investigated every single company and looked at their website and looked at their social media and sent out, network requests and things like that for every single one of these, I would be lying through my teeth to you. This was absolutely a shotgun approach. It was definitely get myself in the face of as many people as possible, and then the ones that responded, then do my homework. And I think right now that's the job market we're in. There's definitely been times where I have advocated people to do your homework up front. There might be a select few companies you're looking at, or again, you're not entirely unhappy. The job market isn't as competitive, and so you can afford to do that work on the front end and do less applications per day, but more work per application. I don't think that's the market that we're in. I think right now the shotgun approach is actually the way to go, but do your homework as soon as that interaction starts. So that's definitely my kind of, happy medium that I recommend between those two things. And so while I don't typically recommend that approach, right now I think you have to, when you look at the competition on the job market. I mean, it was fairly consistent that if I was not applying to a job within 12 hours of posting, I was such a high number applicant that I was just buried deep and it was useless. And so that was the other kind of big thing, which I'll get to here in a second, was I used LinkedIn as my primary job search tool. I didn't use Indeed or Monster or ZipRecruiter or any of the other specialized ones. The reason I like LinkedIn is I truly like their filter system. I think their filters offer a little bit greater of a degree. There's a toggle for under 10 applicants, so you can always be an early applicant. That was my first check every day, every morning, and also every night. So at the front end of the day and the back end of the day, which jobs are under 10 applicants are on brand new posts. And if I was applying within that window of beginning and end of day, then I would just simply do posted in the last 24 hours since I knew I applied the day before. Cycle that through. That's how I was able to consistently be a lower applicant number. It's still very rare that, I was number 1 or 2 or even single digits, but it was very common that I then became, 10, 12, 15, somewhere in that lower double digit that I'm still going to get seen on a much greater degree. I also like the fact that LinkedIn filters allow me to choose the benefits specifically, which I thought was very interesting. And I don't think the other job boards do. So that's another reason I like LinkedIn. And again, I'm a total compensation guy, so being able to tack in those benefits. And so I just think that the overall filters I like a little bit better. All the other filters I think are pretty much the same. And then aside from that, when I did really, really want to put my eggs into a particular basket, like there were a couple of different jobs. where I actually, went to their company page, found people on that company page, tried to network with them, send them direct messages, put myself in front of them, really put myself out there to a degree that I just didn't do with other organizations. And LinkedIn allows you to do that, where Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster, all these other ones, it's just a job board. So you just apply and twiddle your thumbs, and yeah, you can send messages, but they're just going into the ether and you hope somebody sees them. And anyone that's been on the hiring side of the table, I don't know anybody that's ever read those messages. So where LinkedIn's a little bit of a different story. So I like the power of the networking aspect of LinkedIn too, which again, on the front end, even before I got the response, when I was like, oh, I really want this position, I really like this company, or I really like this for my career, I would go ahead and do a lot of that front end work and treat it like a normal job market scenario where it's not the shotgun approach. I would do that, and LinkedIn enables that too. So I did narrow my scope to LinkedIn as my job search tool primarily. I just don't think, unless you are unemployed, leveraging multiple job boards, I think, is just too time consuming. So I think you need to pick kind of your scope, pick your tool, and just hone in and execute. That was my strategy there. Now, the last and final piece kind of this application-based scenario that I want to cover on the strategy side is Excel or any spreadsheet, Google Sheets, Excel, whatever it is. But I definitely recommend starting something, because the shotgun approach, you're not going to be able to keep track of all of the different things that are happening. At one point, I believe I had 16 interview cycles simultaneously. So this was very hard to keep track of who I talked to, what were some key points, what was information about the company that, was gleaned through the interview that I didn't get through my website or through their website or through my research or whatever. And so this is where having a spreadsheet came in significant handy. Was here's the company, here's the position, here was that job posting, so you can click right to it and know what the requirements were. And then just a general kind of miscellaneous notes. Couple positions actually made me realize that instead of having the notes, breaking that out into a per interview notes column. So phone screen, first interview, second interview, third interview, because it definitely seems like it's a mixed bag. You have some companies who are like a 2 interview shop, and then some that are like a 5 or 6 interview shop. You definitely have people who are between that. And also ones who are greater than that 5 to 6. And if I'm just being honest, if you are taking more than 6 interviews to hire for your company, just stop. Like, you are inefficient at that point. That tells me that you are not a company rooted in efficiency, and I don't want to work for you at that point. My personal general cutoff is generally around 4. But especially, I understand there might be some leeway, and if I can kind of logic my way to the company, or if it was maybe an availability thing, they couldn't bring the panel together, so you have to do it separate, fine. So, but if you're doing 7, 8, 9 interview steps, that speaks more about you as a company. And yeah, that's a totally separate discussion in video maybe. But because of me advocating for that shotgun approach, this I found to be very, very, very helpful. Is having a spreadsheet of company, position, job description, link, and then breaking out to some notes per interview. So that way you could reference back and really show that you knew who you interacted with, leverage the company facts, and drive value when it comes to that process. So that was overall my job search strategy, really in a nutshell for right now, market today. Have AI write your resume, have AI write your cover letter. I use LinkedIn as my job search tool. Do the homework on the ones that you really, really want to in terms of networking and research and all of that on the front end. And shotgun approach with a spreadsheet to have all of your notes and information along the way. So then we get to the interview stage, and I traditionally have a very good interview to offer rate. It was a little bit lower this time around than historical, but still above what I would consider to be the overall benchmark. To where, again, I went from that 2% response rate, nothing past first interview, to a 12% response rate and 6 different job offers, for which I finally ended up taking my new one. And really interviewing, I'm going to give just kind of a couple high-level basic tips here. And the key to the interview process on the front end is research. Not only checking the website, I know it's the stereotypical, but look at their about pages, look at their news, look at their products and portfolio and what they offer and who their clients are, and those sorts of things. But also look at their social media. look at what they are posting, because that's a lot of times going to be more updated than the website, especially on a frequency basis. And looking at the social media to see maybe what conferences they're attending to, or what initiatives they're doing, or maybe they're just giving some internal employees some praise. So you can get a little bit of insight into the culture, whatever it might be. The social media side is very underrated. Again, one of the reasons I like LinkedIn is it is also that social media platform. So again, I now have a one-stop shop. I have one platform that's giving me homework, social media, networking, and the job postings. I'm in a single interface all day doing all of these different components that are leading to my job search strategy. Again, I have no affiliation, by the way. I'm not linked to LinkedIn in any way. I'm not a shill for them. Just I personally think it is the best job search tool, and I'm slowly explaining why through my strategy. So going into the interview, do your homework, because if I had to sum up very quickly, I believe it's actually in one of my previous videos where I essentially say your resume and cover letter and LinkedIn, your actual kind of pre-hire documentation, is about risk mitigation. That's what you're trying to do, is to say, hey, you are automatically, to reach out to me, going to have to invest time. The cost to you is time. I want to mitigate that cost or the risk of you spending that for nothing in return. That's what you're trying to do in those documents. On the flip side, you are not trying to do risk mitigation in the interview. You are, yes, always risk mitigation in mind, but what your primary objective is to drive value. Make them money before they pay you. If you can make them money in the interview process, it's incredibly hard for them to say no to you. So this is where the homework is key on that front end, as well as allowing you to prepare for that inevitable section of the interview that everybody hates, which is, what questions do you have for me? So this is why doing your homework is key, by looking at their social media and their website and maybe knowing what their initiatives are, what they're looking to do, what their conferences are, things that they're saying and things they're getting involved in their different product portfolio. You can identify either directly areas to drive value and drive opportunity, or come up with a line of questioning to go, hey, I saw you were at this conference. Is this something that you do every year? Are you trying to increase your market presence? Right. So you can try to ask some questions that might lead to, oh, well, here's my experience with how to approach this, or here's how I've solved this problem before, or whatever it might be. So that's the key to the interview process. And so that's kind of the other thing I want to lead into here is, when it comes to interviewing, you just have to be confident. Most people on the surface, I don't like sales. I don't like scummy salespeople, blah, 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 blah. Interviewing is selling. It is providing your experience and proving to somebody why you are worth them spending money on you. And it is just that simple. So when you look at it that way, that most people, ironically, I believe it's median wages, give or take about $60,000. When you factor in benefits and things like that, it's actually about a $90,000 cost to the employee. Then that's also not including the payroll tax concept, which is an additional, I forget the percentage there, but it usually bumps it up to where a median wage employee of $60,000 ends up actually costing a company about $100,000. So when you look at it that way of, hey, I'm going to spend $100,000 on you, but I need you to tell me how you're going to make me that $100,000 back. That's why interviewing is value driven. And so what you're trying to do throughout the interview is not simply answer their questions. Yes, I have experience with this, or, oh, here's something that I did, but it's actually relating it to them and their company and their industry and what they do and how what you are doing will lead to them making money, and showing them that not only, yes, I'm a value driver, yes, I'm an impactful employee, but I also have the business acumen and understanding that my job as your employee is to change the bottom line. That goes a long way and will separate you from the competition. And so that's what you're trying to do throughout the interview process. And so, I mentioned earlier, what everybody doesn't like the section of, well, what questions do you have for me? Well, this is where, if it hasn't necessarily been able to come up organically, some of the common kind of frameworks for some of these questions I like to throw out there would be things like, what are the immediate opportunities or problems this position is intended to resolve? Is this position a net new or a backfill? Meaning, did it exist before me, or would I be the first one in this position? If it's net new, then now you could say, well, how figured out do you believe this position to have? What was the problem that sparked the creation of this position? If it's a backfill position, hey, what changes is the company now looking for in this role with the new person filling it? Are there things, that maybe the previous employee wasn't fulfilling to a greater degree that you want the new person to do? You could also look at it as, what is the future of this position from a 3 to 5 year standpoint? Like what is the line of progression that is, open within the company? These sorts of things that are going to spark some discussion and give you insight into how forward thinking they are, how adaptable they are, and how growth oriented they are, but also give you the opportunity to say, well, here's how I'm going to solve this problem, or here's my experience with already solving this problem. Or it just really opens up the doors for you to drive value and for you to say, yes, I'm expensive and I'm going to cost you money, but I'm going to make sure I make you that money on the back end. That's what you're trying to do with the interview process. And you have to be confident through that whole process. And because here's the thing, if you are not confident in yourself, and when you are, answering the questions and conveying the stories and telling them, it's just not going to come across effectively, especially once you get to a certain threshold within the corporate ladder. As soon as you break into leadership, you got to be backed by confidence. So to sum up again, quick little summation here of what interviewing is about and how to approach it once you get past that application stage. Do your homework. Check the website. Check social media. Also try and network with people to connect, people that are at the organization, either in the same position as you or whatever, on LinkedIn, things like that, to get a little bit of insider baseball. Once you're in the interview, make sure that you're speaking confidently, make sure you're driving value, and always come prepared with questions that are directly relevant based off of the research you did, or are also opening the doors for you to give an answer to drive value in terms of affecting that bottom line. So that's kind of the core approach there to successfully interviewing. And then when you're talking about the last piece here, which is going to be follow-up, this is where a lot of this practice has just died. And I don't know if this was market dictated, age dictated. I truly don't know, but I got multiple comments from hiring managers, both for positions where I got the offer and ones that I didn't, where I was just thanked for my engagement throughout the process outside of the interviews. So this definitely seems to be something that is lacking in the market today from the applicant point of view, or applicant actions that the employer point of view is looking for. And after every single interview within 24 hours, so I might not do it immediately, especially if it was a later day interview, something around that 3, 4, 5 o'clock time frame, I'm definitely going to wait till the next day. If it was maybe first thing in the morning, I might do it later that day, but I also just might do it first thing next morning. But effectively, within 24 hours, everyone that you have an email address for that was in that interview process, send a thank you. Because here's the thing, again, it goes back to earlier. Their cost in this process, regardless, whether you work out or not, is their time. And you are one of, if you're lucky, like 5 candidates, but it's probably 10, 15, 20, especially when you're on that HR recruiting side of the scenario. It's hard to tell what those numbers are. So the fact that these people are investing hours and hours and hours of what their valuable time is, especially if it's a hiring manager or somewhere in the chain of command, and this person is taking time out of business impact to interview you, thank them for doing that. It's that simple. And this could be a very, very simple model. Like somebody just say, hey, I really enjoyed the conversation today. I really appreciate you taking the time. I really am excited about this opportunity, and I look forward to hearing about next steps. Hope your week continues to be well, or, hope you have a great day, or whatever, just something short, sweet, to the point, but is just saying, yes, I'm engaged. I'm here, very excited, and I'm looking forward to it, and let's go. And here's the thing. If you're not excited about it, then I still think you send that email, but I definitely would ask yourself, is this an opportunity that you genuinely want? Or you actually want? Because even if it's something to where you're like, I just need a paycheck and I just need a job, you should still be excited for that. Like, so you should still be excited for something, even if it's not necessarily like, oh my God, this is the bee's knees thing that I'm looking for. Showing that excitement and that enthusiasm, and that engagement, even if it's just something to get you a paycheck, it's going to be key. But just don't tell them that's what it's for. And so this follow up. And again, go back to the spreadsheet. And the thing that I'm going to say to put in there is the tracking of your follow-ups, right? Boom. So interview 1, here was my notes. Here's the key things. You could use those notes to then go into your follow-up on the next day or within the 24 hours or whatever. Make a note to yourself. Followed up with so-and-so on this date, on this time. Boom. And then now you can also, if they gave you a time frame where they expect to hear back, you did your follow-up, and maybe that time frame expires of when you were supposed to hear back from them. And now you have another jumping off point. And this was something that it was astonishing to me that I did this for every interview throughout the entire process, and both for jobs that worked out into offer and that didn't. The amount of positive feedback and thank yous I got for doing this just blew my mind, in that it's clearly something that is lacking. And so I think that this is really my current recommendation and formula for the current job market as it is. It is incredibly competitive. And so to sum all this up pretty quickly into a little bullet point list here, we'll start with the resume. Have AI write it. Have AI write your cover letters. Tailor your cover letters to every single job posting. I'm recommending currently the shotgun approach. Track the shotgun approach in a spreadsheet with company title, job description, and then some notes about your interviews along the way. The companies and the positions that you really, really, really want, go ahead and do that upfront homework to help tailor your cover letter and things appropriately. Again, having AI do this makes it still not a lot of work in terms of doing the actual tailoring. I recommend LinkedIn as the job search tool because you get to apply, you get to do company research, and you get to network with people all in a single interface. So you're not sitting there changing tabs and flipping back and forth and having multiple logins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's really the application side. When it comes to the interviewing side of the equation, then you should be doing your research, coming prepared with a list of questions, figuring out how to drive value, figuring out how to also do a little bit of risk mitigation, but driving value is the key part. Asking and engaging about the company in terms of those questions and throughout that interview process, being confident, selling yourself, and really making sure that you're presenting yourself in the best light. And lastly, follow up, track your follow-ups in that same spreadsheet. Do your follow-ups within 24 hours of every interview stage for the companies of once you get there. And that will lead to a successful job search strategy. Like I said, I went from 6 weeks of a 2% response rate to 6 weeks of a 12% response rate and 6 job offers simultaneously that ultimately I ended up with my new job where I'm at. So just wanted to share this high-level strategy. If you hope this is helpful, I hope this, puts you in a position to succeed. If you're looking for further details, want to work with me one-on-one, feel free to hit the link below to take the quiz, get started with me, or reach out to me on Connect. You can join the school community as well. The school community, if you join that, will get you 2 hours of free coaching as it is today. That link is also below. So I have plenty of ways to interact with me. At the same time, just subscribe and like this video. Leave me a comment. I will absolutely engage with you. I will respond to every comment left on every video. That is where I'm at, and I really appreciate it. I hope this is a discussion starter, and so I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions. If there's anything around job search strategy that you're maybe particularly struggling with that I can create some content on or help you out with, don't hesitate to reach out, comment, connect, school, fill out the quiz to start working with me one-on-one, whatever it might be. So again, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for joining the Promoted channel, and until next time.